All right, Larry Krueger here from the Pig in a Pickle Krug Show with a little 49er video as Kyle Shanahan has just spoken to the media and on this Monday, and we'll tell you what he said coming up next. And, of course, we're brought to you by Pig in a Pickle, the best barbecue in all of Northern California. Check them out. They're in Emeryville. They're in Corte Madera and Marin. They're open 7 days a week from 11 a.m. till 8 p.m. or until they run out, and they do run out. So get there early and get some brisket, get some brisket chili. Tell them that Larry Krueger sent you. And this live stream, or this video, is sponsored by Better, the official daily fantasy sponsor of the Krug Show. Use Better to make daily fantasy lineups and win real money. We've won already this year 4 times. Download the app below. Make sure you use the promo code Niners, and you'll get your first deposit matched up to $200. And everybody who does is automatically entered into a drawing to win a free Fred Warner signed jersey. We'll announce the winner at the end of November. All right, let's talk a little bit about Kyle Shanahan. We just got off the conference call with Shanahan. The injuries from the game, Renardo Green has a toe injury. He's day-to-day. George Kittle's got a hamstring injury. He's day-to-day. And Mitch Wishnowski's back flared up. So he's day-to-day. But overall, the Niners escaped that Tampa game relatively injury-free. Immediately, the first topic was, hey, what did you think of, Deebo Samuel and Tabor Pepper? And Kyle's like, I didn't think anything of it at the time. But then when I went home and I watched it and I saw it on TV and this and that, we addressed it today. And he said, hey, we're good. We squashed it and we're good. And there was never any doubt that was going to be the case. They were going to squash it, that eventually, Pepper and Deebo are going to, hash it out or hug it out or whatever they need to do. And Kyle said, hey, look, I really don't want Deebo to throw a mini punch at somebody on our own team. Okay, so that's, and that, of course, is a mistake. You're not doing, come on, you don't do that. You don't punch guys on your own team. Basically, but then when Kyle went through it, he's like, Deebo basically went up to Moody and was like, lock in. And Kyle's take on it was not that Deebo was being critical of one of his teammates, that Deebo was challenging a guy that he believes in. So that's how he kind of spun it. And it is a little bit of a spin. Come on. You got one guy yelling at another guy to do his job. I'll just say this. When Deebo fumbles, when Deebo gets caught for a loss, does Jake Moody go over to Deebo and say, hey, Deebo, lock in? Of course not. So it's a little hypocritical. But Deebo, Kyle says that his perspective is that, he doesn't want Deebo to throw a punch at Tabor, but that Deebo said lock in, and he wasn't trying to run a teammate down or be in any way a negative influence, that he was simply trying to challenge a guy who, according to Kyle, Deebo believes in. So that's one way to spin it. Kyle also said that he felt like Pepper overreacted. That Tabor Pepper, it was good that Tabor defends his kicker, and that's good. You want to defend a teammate that's being attacked. But that, he may be overreacted. He may be overreacted a tad bit. But there's a lot of stress. And in the moment, you're feeling, you failed. And I don't think anybody needs somebody to tell them after they failed that they failed. I mean, come on. I mean, it's like, where is that productive? Your wife crashes the car and you're like, you crashed the car? I mean, is that gonna make the car not be crashed? No. Is it gonna go back in time and change what happened? No. Does it add more pressure to an already negative moment and a pressure moment? Yeah. So whatever. They can deal with it any way they want to deal with it. But according to Kyle, he understood why Deebo did what he did. Didn't think it was that bad, that he was challenging a guy that he believes in. He felt like Tabor overreacted, and then Deebo overreacted back with his mini punch of Tabor. Anyway, he also was asked if fines are going to be levied towards anybody, and he's like, no. He's like, I fine people for breaking rules. I don't fine people for having disagreements on a football field or having a disagreement escalate a little bit more. So there'll be no fines. Deebo will not be fined. Pepper will not be fined. Nobody will be fined. And according to Kyle, they squashed it, and that they're good. So so there you go. And I think we all kind of knew that was going to be the case. One of the media people pointed out that Nick Bosa said afterwards that his hip pointer probably affected his play a little bit. Kyle was asked about it and said, he didn't have anything really to add on it other than it's possible that, hip pain did impact Bosa's production in the game yesterday. They talked a little bit about the play where Darrell Luter got blocked into Jacob Cowing. And he says that Luter's got to be more aware in that situation, that it's not illegal to block the gunner or one of the people on special teams into the return man, and it's actually a strategy. So Luter, who a ball bounced off of him in the Super Bowl, and resulted in a huge costly turnover, and obviously this one also resulted in a huge costly turnover. He just has to be more aware. He's a talented young player. He's a great kid. He's got a big future. At corner, for sure. He's going to be a really good NFL player, in my opinion. But right now, his job is special teams. And right now, he's got to be more aware on special teams so that doesn't happen again. You got to know where the ball is. You got to know where the ball is. You got to stay away from it. You can't let it, ricochet off you when you're on the coverage unit. When you're on the return unit, I should say. You can't have it ricochet off you. Then it's a live ball. Anybody can pick it up. And that's what happened yesterday. He got blocked into Cowing. And you got young players here. Cowing's a young return guy. And there's no question that he's new, and Luter's relatively new. Personally, I'd love to see, if you're going to have Trent Taylor on the roster and you don't want to lose games on special teams, well, guess what? You almost lost a game yesterday on special teams. So it might be time to sit Jacob Cowing, even though this wasn't necessarily his fault, and go with the veteran, go with the sure-handed guy, go with the guy who can't give you any return yardage, but he's going to catch the ball every time. So, that was a huge mistake on special teams. And he said, hey, look, Luter has to be more aware going forward when he's on the field to not be blocked into the punt returner. It's simple as that. Just simple as that. He's got to be more aware. Kyle was asked if there's any plans to open any practice windows this week. He said possibly Chris Conley could have his practice window open. Possibly Kevin Givens, who's trying to return from a groin strain. He potentially could have his practice window open this week. He said not yet for Dre Greenlaw. Greenlaw is still a few weeks off, which makes sense. He blew out the Achilles in February. It should be a full year-long rehab, even in 2024. And so that means he would miss the whole season. But the hope was they could get him back by midseason. Now I think the more realistic hope is they can get him back in the month of December before the playoffs. I would guess that you were about three weeks away from Greenlaw if I was making a guess. That would be my guess. Kyle was asked about Mooney Ward, who obviously was away from the team to attend the funeral services of his infant who tragically died last week. And Kyle said that Mooney may come back. He says he doesn't have any updates right now, official updates. He hasn't talked to Mooney about his plans. But I would imagine the 49ers, gave Mooney the whole week off, knowing that obviously this is a tragedy and he needs to get his head in the right space. He needs to take care of things that are more important than football. And while they, want to give him a wide berth and give him and be totally understanding, I think part of their, hey, we're going to sit you out this week is the understanding that he'll be back next week for Seattle. So my guess is he will play against Seattle, but Kyle didn't have any updates today. And when he termed it of how, where it sat with Mooney, he said he may come back this week. So I think you can expect to see Mooney Sunday at Levi's against Seattle. 49ers also made an addition today, signing Nick McCloud who's a cornerback and a special teamer. And Kyle was asked about, hey, is this really about special teams? And, he just said, hey, look, we needed better depth, and it's not just about special teams. It's about special teams and getting, better depth. And so McCloud was added to the roster today, and that was one of the moves that they made. And McCloud is, he's going to be on the practice squad, but I like him. I mean, I think he's a guy who's going to make the team as far as I think he's going to play from scrimmage. I don't know if he'll play from scrimmage right away, but I think he's more than just a special teamer. He's a very good special teamer, and I think they need to add people who are good special teamers. But Nick McCloud's also got the ability to play some from scrimmage as a corner, and we'll see when he'll play next. He was asked about DeAndre Campbell, and Kyle said that he felt like DeAndre Campbell's best game was Dallas, and that he may have had even a better game this week against Tampa. There's one thing that's clear is that DeAndre Campbell looked a step or two or three slow earlier in the year. And then coming out of going into the Dallas game, I thought they should have taken him off the field. I thought he played really well in that Dallas game. And then he had some big plays in this game against Tampa Bay. So Campbell, according to Shanahan, just played his two best games as a 49er. He said he couldn't be more happy with what Campbell has given them. So for those who are saying, hey, Campbell, get him off the field, get Winter in there, the Niners don't see it that way. They like what Campbell's done, especially the last 2 weeks against Dallas and Tampa Bay. As far as Jake Moody, Kyle was asked, why, he missed 3 kicks, what's the deal? Why? We're all looking for answers. Is there any common denominators in any of his misses? And Kyle just said it's not an easy stadium to kick in, that the winds swirl and they're hard to predict. And he just said, hey, look, you know what? You chalk it up to a bad day and you move on to next week. So there'll be no Jake Moody getting cut. There'll be no special teams coordinator getting fired. They're just going to go forward. Moody's their kicker, and he's going to be their kicker. They invested a third-round pick in him, so they kind of have to – they're either going to be heavily criticized for investing a third-round pick in a kicker and cutting him, or they're going to be heavily criticized if he continues to fail. So the only answer is for Moody to continue to play well, or to start to play well. And he was, kicking the ball exceptionally well. I think he was like 13 of 15 coming into the game, and then he misses 3 kicks. Kyle was asked about Rock Ya-Sin, and he said that he had a nice play on the goal line. I didn't realize that it was Rock Ya-Sin that was in there on that 3rd and goal play where the Niners prevented the touchdown. Otherwise, they would have lost in Tampa. And then Kyle was asked about the secondary, and he just said that the young secondary, guys like Green, Malik Mustafa, did a really good job, and that he likes the way they're progressing. I think when you watch the film, it's pretty clear that Malik Mustafa, comes flying up at a speed that is unlike other players on the field. He's playing for keeps. He is playing for real. He doesn't just come, running up. He comes absolutely flying up. And to me, Mustafa is, even though he was dinged up, he still played in this game and he played well. And Renardo Green, these are 2 outstanding players. These are going to be 2 49ers, maybe for life. These are going to be 2 49er players that are going to be here for a long time. Malik Mustafa is an alpha who hits like a truck. And Renardo Green is a sticky, veteran, mature cover corner who makes play after play after play. He might be, I know this is going to sound crazy, but I really believe this. After watching the All-22, he might be the Niners' best corner right now. I'm not talking about 3 years from now. No, I'm talking about right now, today. His coverage today is as good as any Niner corner on the team. And his instincts and his smarts as a football player are as good as any DB on that field, including Lenore. Lenore's a nice player, don't get me wrong. I really like him. Renardo Green's coverage is even stickier. He has no false steps, no wasted movement. He's a strong tackler. They both are. Lenore's a phenomenal player. and Mooney Ward is a tremendous corner too. I mean, Mooney at the beginning of the year was thought to be the Niners' number one corner. I think for the first half of the year, most Niner fans would probably tell you it's Lenore. But I'm telling you, as somebody who's spent the last month watching the All-22 pretty religiously, Renardo Green is better than both those guys. Renardo Green's coverage is tighter than Mooney's or Lenore's. Renardo Green doesn't have the force of a hitter like Lenore, but he's a more sure tackler who brings guys to the ground and never doesn't. I mean, it's like you don't get away from him. Renardo Green is a phenomenal football player. Both those guys are here to stay for years to come. Renardo's going to be one of the Niners' best corners for the next 5 to 6 years, and Malik Mustafa is going to be one of their defensive leaders and a tone setter on the back end at either safety position for the next 5 or 6 years. They really hit there. Green in round 2, Mustafa in round 4. All right, that does it for our video. Thanks to Pig and a Pickle for being the title sponsor of the Krug Show. Thanks to Better. Make sure you download the app below. Make sure you use the promo code Niners, and you'll get your first deposit matched up to $200. And everybody who does is automatically entered into a drawing to win a free signed Fred Warner red XL 49er jersey. We'll announce the winner at the end of November. And thanks to all of you guys for supporting the Krug Show on YouTube.